telling me here. Well, Greg Brown has been able to stick around here for just a little more time, which I am very grateful of. He's the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and of course the Atlanta Braves have a 2-game lead in the National League East. I think they're the team to beat, and I've said that now for some time, especially that the Washington Nationals seem to have thrown up the white flag, but the Pirates actually had a great series pitching. Wasn't it held to 1 run or less in four games, in every game of a 4-game series since 1927 or something? Take 2 of 4 from Chicago and couldn't, move up the standings, that sort of thing. So I want to ask you here, since I have you, what's wrong with the Pirate offense? I know Sterling Marte was benched for not hustling and such, but is it the fact that they're facing a good team like Chicago and some promising pitchers and Kevin Gausman and Bryce Wilson, or is it something else, Greg Brown?
I mean, maybe I don't think you really know stuff, but yeah, the other day, 7 double plays in a 9-inning game, and I think it was last night. Danny Echeverria, the Pirates shortstop, came to the plate with runners at first and third, 1 out, and is the offense pressing too much because now they're starting to feel the heat? Their batting average with runners in scoring position, I think, over the last week is under 100, which is waiting for 1 base against Gausman. Hooks foul. If it stays fair, it's a big 3-run homer. They take a 3-2 lead, and that could have just, their victories. You mentioned that 4 straight games they gave up 1 run or fewer, and they only won 2 of those 4 games. And then they go out and lose 1-0 the opening game of the Braves series. 2 weeks it was on a great roll. Everything was going guns a-blazing, and now it's just been shut off for whatever reason.
We're talking to Greg Brown, the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they're one of their play-by-play broadcasters since 1994. He also was a football broadcaster. A lot of people don't know this. The greatest comeback in Bills, and the famous game where they came back from 34-3 down in the playoffs against the Houston Oilers en route to the Super Bowl. Yeah, Greg Brown was in the booth there at Rich Stadium on that day. Tonight, by the way, the Braves will be playing the Pirates. It'll be Trevor Williams for the Bucks and Julio Teheran for the Braves. Should be mentioned that both pitchers are 1 game over 500, but Williams has an earned run average about 70 points less than Teheran, who one time the ace of the Braves staff, and now, he talked about acquiring Chris Archer, and you spoke of getting a quality starter, somebody that can maybe head up the rotation for a few years, and that's why the Pirates would trade the prospects that they did, Austin Meadows among, as well as Shane Baz, very familiar to local. Pirates have a chance at that last wild card. I mean, 6.5 out with a month and a week to play. It has been done, but it's almost something that you're going to have to win like 3 of your next 4 from here on out. A 750 ball from here on out to really think about it. But it's easier to catch fifth contender.
In that clubhouse, they have to believe that they can catch fire, and they did before. They had an 11-game winning streak not too long ago before this recent slump. They had won 11 in a row, and I think 18 of 21. So they went on one of those rolls, which means if it happened once, it could happen again. The chances are remote, but they have to hold out hope that they can. The one thing that terribly promising is that starting rotation. You mentioned Trevor Williams is quietly 10th in the National League in ERA. Guys at the Pirates, what a great find he has been. Look what Joe Musgrove has done. He's become the real horse of that pitching staff. And we mentioned Archer, who really has been the guy that has not been holding his weight since the All-Star break. Their ERA among the starters is under 3. And Archer is the one guy who gave up 1 run once again from 2 runs, a 2-run homer by Dansby Swanson. And it just goes on and on with the pitching staff. It's just a matter of getting a couple of runs here or there, and they could go on a roll. It's not likely. There's too many teams to catch in the wild card. The hope is that they make it interesting, especially finish strong with the idea that strong rotation next year with that bullpen, that next year they'll go into the 2019 season considered a favorite.
I want to ask you about Anderson. Doesn't seem to be what it once was when he was leading the Pirates to 3 straight, wild card berths. But still a popular player in baseball and such. I just want to ask you, what do you think is the touch? Why has he gone from being a, say, 290 hitter to a 258 hitter?
Yeah, my guess would be the easy answer is probably just age. It's kind of caught up to him. With you look around, all these analytics. They tell you that you approach 30 years old, you've reached your peak, and now he's heading down the other side. It doesn't mean he can't still be a productive player, but I think that's kind of what the Pirates saw. And I know you're kind of aware of the fan base in this town, this region. They were, in fact, they still harbor ill feelings toward the ownership of the Pirates for trading him. It was a hard choice. They did it, even though people don't want to. They don't want to admit that a player might be his best years might be behind him.
Sure.
We always want to hold on to the past, the glory days of the past, in all walks of life, in every aspect of our lives. It was always better back then when we were growing up. Well, McCutchen was better back in 2013-14 when they're going through the playoff run, when he won an MVP. And it's just, a player is not going to keep up that pace throughout his career. Eventually he's going to go into the decline. It's just a matter of what do you do with these assets? Do you hold on to them forever and then hurt your club? Doesn't mean he can't still be productive. It'll be weeks because the Giants appear to be on their way to kind of themselves waving that white flag.
Yeah, I hate to see a player who is so dominant. I mean, an MVP like Kutch now kind of devolve into being a journeyman. I mean, he had a great start with the Giants and such, but I sense that. And is he going to be a one-year player for the Giants and such? We're talking to Greg Brown. He's the voice of the Pirates. The Braves have taken 2 games in a 3-game series in Pittsburgh. One, by the way, of the Braves announcers' favorite road cities, by the way. On the broadcast, you'll hear, Simpson and Sutton rave about Pittsburgh there, Greg Brown. I think you should know that. But it's one of my favorite cities to visit, says Don Sutton all the time. I love the history here. I wanted to, though, ask you this, and this is what I'll close out with. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the competitive balance of baseball. It always seems like there's some league, maybe not so much in the National, but certainly in the American. Now, I'm going to give you a stat here that I came up with that sort of shows modern era baseball and how it influences the larger markets. When we had 2 divisions in baseball, the Pirates won the division 9 times. That was the most in the history of the National League. The A's did win 10, same era, but in the National League, the Pirates had, in 2 division ball, 9 division titles. Now the Pirates have more competitive balance in baseball.
Well, I guess if I were the commissioner, I'd probably, if you're interviewing me in and I am the commissioner on behalf of Major League Baseball. And to play devil's advocate, I guess I would point out that there are more different champions in Major League Baseball than any other sport. So actually, there is competitive balance. I guess that's my retort.
At the very top, I mean, but I have heard also that idea, and I said, well, you know what? I mean, back in the 50s when the Yankees were winning every year, there were only 16 teams, for crying out loud. I mean, you had a better statistical chance to have a dynasty, if you will. So, but yeah, go ahead. I do.
Push for some type of, now they do have some that, some type of, they don't want to hear salary cap. I wonder if there would be a salary floor that each club would be forced to. Now the union might not go along with that because that in essence becomes a salary cap where you force the big market teams. I don't know whether you could fix the local TV contracts that they get because that's what's really out of proportion more than anything else.
Yeah.
That's the crux of the problem. But again, I said so many times before, Marky, I have this debate all the time with colleagues, friends, on the air with some diehard football guys. They claim that the NFL is the way to go with the salary cap, even the NHL. I say ask Detroit Lion fans how good the salary cap has done them. Ask Cleveland Brown fans what good the salary cap has done them. Ask Chicago Bear fans, of which I am one, what good the salary cap about that the Bills were on in the late 80s, early 90s. It's not about the salary cap, and frankly, the reason why the Pirates have not won a division is not because of imbalance of salaries and payrolls. It's because the Pirates have not run a tight ship. They haven't done it right. Other teams have been smarter. That's why. I mean, that's why the Astros, when they were in our division, why the Brewers, why the Cubs, why the Reds, they ran. If they were to look in the mirror, I think they'd agree with me.
Well, we've been talking to Greg Brown. I do hear what you're saying and such. I just look at it and yeah, what the Pirates between Jason Kendall and what was it, Neil Walker, take a look at their first round draft choices sometimes and it's just nobody's. Yeah.
Exactly. That cannot be dismissed. The reason why they got in the mess they were in is because they felt like, not only do we sign Jason Kendall, which is okay, he was a good first round pick. He's the all-time leading catcher in Pirates history in terms of games played, but he's a singles hitting guy. And then they end up spending a ton of money to keep him. That was the mistake they made. Unlike now with McCutchen, when they saw the writing on the wall, they went ahead and traded McCutchen. They made a tough call. That's what they did not do when they had Kendall.
Baseball economics with Greg. Greg Brown, I think we lost our connection, but hey, that's pretty much the interview anyhow, to date with my old friend Greg Brown. I'm going to come back. I've got so much Vols news. I mean, I'm out the wazoo with Tennessee Volunteers news. Of course, we're still waiting to hear what's going to happen in Ohio State. I think they ought to fire Urban Meyer. Everybody says they won't. You lie to the media, though, like that, and I mean, how good is that for your recruiting? If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I've got the actual thing I can use for any recruit that is going to be considering me or Ohio State. And I said, if he's going to lie to the media, how do you know he's not going to lie to you? And it should be on his last seconds as the Ohio State head coach. Tri-City Sports Now will come back after this with more Vols news.